So yesterday we finally found out who the next offensive line coach was going to be at the University of Alabama and who would be replacing Kyle Flood. And I think the University of Alabama made a slam dunk hire and we have to get into it. But before we do, y'all, as always, if you're already here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I do constant college football content, film reviews, player studies, and I'd love to have you along for the journey as we push towards 1,000 subscribers. Like the video, comment down below letting me know what you think of not only the hire, but what do you want to see from this channel. I love interacting with y'all in the comments, and likes and comments go a long ways in helping channels like mine get picked up by the YouTube algorithm as we try and grow. And so yeah, for those of you that have subscribed, it really does mean the world. And I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it. But with all that being said, let's hop straight into it because we have a lot to unpack. So yesterday, the University of Alabama announced that they are hiring former Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Doug Marrone as the offensive line coach at the University of Alabama. Now, I have two primary reasons why I think this is such a good hire. They kind of stem off of each other, but I think that they're separate enough that I want to break them into two distinct issues. So let's talk about it. The first, Doug Marrone is one of the less than 1% coaching world that can claim that both he was a head coach in the NFL and he played in the NFL. Doug Marrone played offensive line in the NFL, coached at Syracuse, went to the NFL as a head coach. He's really got the resume to impress people. And I understand that some of you might be thinking, yes, but his results in the NFL weren't great. And while that's true, I would raise you that the organizations he was at the time he was there were also not very good and had a history of doing more of the same Doug Marrone did while he was there. Also, if you're familiar with Doug Marrone's coaching style, and this isn't a knock on Doug Marrone, it's just the honest truth of the difference between the NFL and college football, he's much more geared to coach college football. You can't be kind of a coach that's very discipline-based, very structured-based, and translate as easy into the NFL. And the reason is because you're talking to kids when you're in college as opposed to grown men in the NFL. I'm not saying you can't be a discipline-based coach in the NFL or that NFL players don't listen to discipline. That's the furthest thing from the truth. NFL teams and the great ones are run off of discipline, and all those individuals are far more disciplined than I've ever been in my life. So that's not my contention. My contention is the style Doug Marrone goes about trying to do the discipline is more geared towards college, and that's not a knock. So that's the first reason why I think it's a slam dunk. One, I think he fits in with the culture, and two, he's of the 1% that really gives credence to recruits on the trail because he coached at the highest level and he played at the highest level. So he damn sure knows what it takes to get there. The second reason I think it's so important we got a guy like Doug Marrone kind of bleeds into the first one. So everything I just said in the first one, carry that over into this one. I'll tell you why all of that I just said is so important. Because we just lost Kyle Flood. Kyle Flood just put together the greatest offensive line recruiting class maybe ever. I can't think of one. If you know of a recruiting class that contained a better offensive line unit than Bama's current recruiting class, please drop it down below in the comments because I have to check it out. Alabama has the number 1 tackle in the nation, the number 2 tackle in the nation, the number 2 guard in the nation, and the number 1 center in the nation, all in the same recruiting class, and was in the running for the number 3 and 4 tackle in the nation. Oh, by the way, both those tackles are 5 stars, and the guard was just outside of 5-star range. So Bama has gotten a absolute plethora of riches on the offensive line recruiting end, and a lot of that is to do with Kyle Flood and the job he's done. Now, I'm not saying he was the primary recruiter on a lot of those guys, but he was a big part of why they came along. That has to be replaced, and I think Doug Marrone is a guy that can do it because, like I said, his word carries weight. He knows what he's talking about. Now let's talk more about another coaching job and another vacancy that's open on the Alabama staff that has to be filled, and it has to be filled with the right guy. And you know, I've been going back and forth on who I think this guy should be, but earlier today I was watching Tide Talk Sports YouTube channel, and y'all, if you do not follow the Tide Talk Sports people, you absolutely need to. They provide some of the best content concerning Alabama there is anywhere in the world, whether that be ESPN, Fox Sports. The Tide Talk Sports people have got you covered. Ricky Green and them do great work, and I really just can't say enough about them, but Ricky Green had such an interesting name, he said, to replace Jeff Banks, and I'm convinced now that it is the move. Kevin Sumlin. And let me explain to you why, because Ricky Green hit the nail on the head on this one. Kevin Sumlin is the perfect fit because Texas has been raided by Alabama for years now. And who is responsible for that but Jeff Banks? Jeff Banks can recruit Texas better than anybody in the nation. And it shows. Look at who he pulled out of Texas just in the past few cycles alone. This year he got a guy like Kamar Wheaton, number 2 running back in the nation. Any other years the number 1 running back in the nation goes to a loaded Alabama backfield with multiple other 4 and 5 stars because Jeff Banks, and because it's Alabama, that absolutely helps. But because Jeff Banks. Kevin Sumlin was the name that Ricky Green said, and guys, I do want to give credit where it's due because this is not an original thought. This is who I heard it from Tide Talk Sports crew. I just love it, so I want to talk about it. I think that makes perfect sense. Kevin Sumlin is a phenomenal recruiter. He really, really is. He was always known as a great recruiter. The players really like Kevin Sumlin. And Kevin Sumlin was a special teams coach at one point. He's also a very good offensive mind. Kevin Sumlin could fit into the role of special teams coach right now because he just got fired after having a disappointing bout at Arizona, and now it's kind of up in the air as to where he will go. But he knows the state of Texas very well, and he would be able to supplement some of the recruiting losses that Jeff Banks and company have left in that void. I think that Ricky Green hit the nail on the head as to who should replace Jeff Banks, because I think that that's the name right there. Now, we have running backs coach open, but I have a feeling that that's not going to be open for very long. I think that that's one of the most coveted jobs at the University of Alabama right now, considering the depth at talent at which they have and the style at which those guys play. I think that job is going to be filled by somebody who's really looking to make a name for themselves and really sees the opportunity that is there. So let me know down below who y'all think is going to be open for that job. I want to do a bit more research before I say anything, but I have a few names and I can't wait to talk about them with y'all. That's it for right now. Like I said, go ahead and like the video, comment down below letting me know what you think, and subscribe to the channel. That's it. See ya.